started by thinking about what we had seen in the presentation from Zeus Jones.
Speak up,
if we want brands to be dynamic and come out with interesting ideas in the sum of many parts, that we need to be more dynamic ourselves and be doing many things. We had a basic thought about micro briefs, so briefs that we find something out during the week and so it's really relevant to the values of our brand, and basically we get that into the department as soon as possible, and we test it, we get it out there.
Yeah, I think overall what we were just thinking about from taking the themes of this conference and everything we've been talking about is a lot of the things that we do and the way that we work is so the opposite of this kind of ongoing active feedback, constantly changing and constantly living in beta. And like some points that were coming up earlier, against the idea that everything needs to be perfect and everything needs to be figured out and polished the first go around. So how we were thinking about research is coming up with a way that rather than banking on these traditional tracking studies and research that takes months and months, costs hundreds of thousands of dollars, but really just come up with a tool that aggregates all the kind of new and interesting research that we have out there. So, conversation tracking online, doing Voxpop blogs, and really finding a way to make research cheaper, faster, more effective, and more iterative in nature that allows things like microbriefs and rapid prototyping. So how we were thinking about it is, making research less about a linear sort of process and a walkthrough, less about the first stage 1, stage 2, and stage 3.
That's a sweet headline.
And more about, this kind of a research cycle. 30 minutes, Adrian, come on.
Fantastic. I'm not saying anything other than it's fantastic.
So, starting with all these things not being a linear sort of process, one happens at the start, one happens at the end, but really, you start from a point of brand valuation, really what are the problems we're trying to solve, active research, ongoing sort of funnel of constant evaluation, and really I think a big part of what this could be is this idea that we toss around of micro-briefs, less about a planner going off for 2 weeks, living in our cave, coming up with a brief, and then handing off the gospel to a creative team, but really more so about how do we make that a collaborative process. Maybe it's 8 different micro-briefs over the course of 6 weeks rather than one big brand briefing at the beginning that then teams have 3 weeks to work on. So as much as we can, making this a very fluid process, making everything that's always been sort of very polished and figured out from the start, but how can we just make it very active and an ongoing process that we learn from almost every day rather than even every week or every month. And so that's kind of it. Really the biggest thing was a new approach to research, something that really incorporates this idea of an active presence, of always learning from our failures, as we talked about earlier, learning from things that aren't working, and really figuring out how do we take that mentality and kind of rethink the process of the way we work.
Give it up for that.
Cool.